In this video, I'm going to run through the installation of Homestead. The first thing you're actually going to need to do is you're going to have to get VirtualBox, okay? And you're actually going to have to get Vagrant. And so if you click on those links, it'll take you to the VirtualBox page, the Vagrant page. You can download based on whatever operating system you're on for your local machine. Now, I suggest VirtualBox. You can use VMware. I don't know if VMware requires licenses or anything like that. I know VirtualBox is free to use, and that's what I'm using. Also, if you're on Windows, I would suggest you use this Git client or this Git bash shell. I was using it in the other videos. I used it, and I like using it. You can use the command shell prompt. It doesn't matter, but anyways. Okay, so once you're done with that, we can actually go into the installation of the Homestead Vagrant box. Alright, so after you have that set up, the next thing I want you to do is just create a projects directory somewhere on your local machine. For me, it's in the D drive, which is my storage drive on my desktop. On my laptop, it's actually on my desktop on my laptop. So just make sure it has projects in it, and then from there, go into the projects directory, and then you're going to create this folder here, movie DB code, and you won't have Homestead yet because you haven't installed that, but from there you can actually go, so we can go into here, and then this movie DB here is going to be where the Laravel files, the Laravel framework files are going to reside in this directory, but we'll go through that later on. So just make sure you create this projects folder and then make another folder, projects directory, and then within that directory make another directory, movie DB code. Alright, after that's done, navigate to this projects directory, and you're going to want to do Vagrant V to make sure your Vagrant installation is installed properly. Once that's done, you verify that it's been installed properly. You want to run this command here. So basically, you're going to go to the Laravel site where the Homestead installation for the Laravel Homestead installation. Sorry, I kind of lost train of thought. You're going to copy this from the installing the Homestead Vagrant box section. You're going to paste it in this directory. You just paste here and run that. Now, once that's done and you finish installing the Vagrant box, now we can actually, we're still in the same projects directory, okay, wherever it is on your machine, doesn't matter. And what I want you to do is actually, you're going to run this command, and now we're actually installing the Homestead files. And we're just going to, well, the way they do it on the website here, the Laravel website, is they want you to install this in the home directory. I didn't do it that way. You can do it that way. And there's just one extra step you're going to have to do. Don't install it in the root directory. But for instance, if you have it, like I said, my projects is on my D drive, which is not my root directory for my operating system. So just make sure you're in the projects folder, and you're going to want to run this command here. So we would copy this, we would paste this into here. It's going to install the Homestead files like it should. And then at the end of that, you're basically going to get a folder that is actually not secret. You're going to list the files, and you're going to have this Homestead folder, so just navigate to that folder. Okay, so now we're in the Homestead directory, right? If we list the files, these are all the Homestead files that were installed whenever we ran this git clone command, okay? So we're in here, and we need to run this command from within the Homestead directory. It's going to be bash init.sh. You're going to run that. And what that does, okay, I'm not going to run it because I already ran it. But what that does is it installs this, or it creates this homestead.yaml configuration file. Like I said before, if you didn't install the Homestead in your root directory, you're going to have two files. You're going to have one within that projects directory, okay? So I can show you what I'm talking about. We go into Homestead, right? This is just Windows File Explorer. I'm in the projects, right? On the D drive, okay? Homestead, sorry, and then source, and then stubs, and it creates this file here, but it also creates that same Homestead file within your root directory. It's going to be hidden it's going to be here actually, whether you're on Mac, Linux, or Windows OS. But all you have to worry about is the one that's in the stubs folder the one that's in the projects Homestead source stubs folder. So just open that, and before you open that, just make sure you have some text editor, right? It can be any text editor. I have brackets. That's what this is. Just make sure you open brackets in an administrative mode. Okay, I know in Windows there might be an issue. I had an issue with that on my laptop. I couldn't edit this file, which we'll talk about in a minute. But just make sure this editor has administrative rights, is what I'm trying to say. Alright, so now we're going to have to run through this configuration of the shared folders. Your homestead.yaml configuration file will look like this initially. Okay, well, we're going to change that. So if we look through this file, you have this stuff up here that you're not going to touch. It's already set up for you. Your authorized and your keys for your SSH. Sorry, I burped again. Oh man, sorry about that. And then this isn't going to change either. You're going to create your SSH key within the bash shell here in a minute, but we're not going to worry about that yet. So under folders, like I said, yours is going to look like this. What we're going to do is we're going to change that to wherever your project's directory is on your local machine. Like I said, mine is on my D drive I guess I've said that for the 100th time. But mine is here, and it's projects, and then you're going to want to map to the movie database code folder that I had you set up, or the directory that I had you set up before, okay? This 2, right, this is going to be the same. You don't touch that. Basically what's happening here is you're mapping all the files, and this is what I talked about in the first video. This is where the synchronization happens, okay? All the files in this movie DB code, and if we go to that within this directory, okay, go to projects, movie database code, all this is going to sync up. All the files in that directory are going to sync up with the files on the virtual machine under the code directory, okay? Remember, because Ubuntu, or the virtual machine has Ubuntu installed on it, and so it has this home directory and Vagrant already installed. You don't have to do any of that, and it's going to have this code folder set up whenever we boot up the Vagrant machine or the Homestead machine. Okay, so once you have that done, then we can move on. The next step is going to be configuring the sites. So we got to make sure that's good to go before we boot up anything. Remember, we haven't even booted up the VM yet. So, our virtual server, sorry. So now this is what your sites is going to look like within that homestead.yaml configuration file. It's going to look like this. So we're going to change that again. In mine, ignore this, ignore these 2 lines, and what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to change map homestead.app to map moviedb.app, and then you're going to want to change this home Vagrant code to moviedb and public, okay? The moviedb directory within the virtual machine is going to host all of the Laravel files, okay? Whenever you install Laravel on the machine, that's where all the files are going to be. And once they get installed on the VM, remember, because the folders are synchronized, they're going to be installed in your project's moviedb code just like they are here, okay? See them all here. This is on my actual machine. Remember, these are all synced up with the virtual machine, and all the files are going to replicate, and they're all going to change whenever you make a change here. It's going to update on the virtual machine. So that's what this configuration file does. Okay, so once that's done, then we can move on to the next step. And the next step is, whenever you make these changes to this file, just make sure you Control-S, save it, however you want to save it in your text editor, whatever. Next step you're going to have to do is, I don't know how this works if you installed the Homestead directory in the root directory of your OS, but since mine's in projects, I have to run the bash init.sh command again. And so what it's going to ask me is, okay, do I want to overwrite this Homestead file under C, JLUG, Homestead YAML? And you're going to want to say yes. Okay, so you say yes, and then it's going to ask you for another overrider after .sh. You say yes, and aliases yes. Boom, you're done. Okay, so make sure you get that done. This is a crucial step, or else you're going to try to navigate to your virtual website, your VM that's hosting your website, and it's not going to work. Alright, since I only have about 3 more minutes left in this video before I hit the 15-minute mark, let me just run through a couple more things, and then we can finalize everything in the next video. I know it's 2 videos, I didn't mean for that to happen, but this is a big process, a big installation. So the next step is going to be, you're going to want to run this SSH keygen command, right? So you're going to copy, or you can type it out here, you can pause the video, whatever you got to do. So what I'm going to do is you're just going to type it in here, and instead of your name, what I did was I put my pirate ID, so LugoJ13, and then the rest of the email can stay the same. And what that does is just creates an SSH key so that you can use the Vagrant, or actually, so you can boot up your VM. If you try to boot up your VM using the Vagrant up command with here, I know we haven't done that yet, we're going to do that. But if you try to run this without running the SSH command, it's not going to work. It's going to give you an error, and if you don't have your SSH keys already set up, it's going to give you an error. Anyways, so let's do that first. Make sure that's good, and then you don't have to worry about it. And then once you have your SSH key all squared away, it's going to ask you, I forgot what the steps were for that, but it's really simple. It's just like, do you want to modify in the SSH? Do you want it to post to this directory? It's default, hit yes, or hit return, and then it's going to ask you for a password. If you want to set one, leave it blank. If you don't, hit return, and then you're done. Okay, and the next step to close out this video is going to be this. Okay, we're going to do this host file. So you're going to want to navigate to, let's see, oh right, remember how I told y'all to open up your text editor with administrator privileges? So you can modify this host file. On Windows, it's going to be in this directory, so C, Windows System 32 drivers, etc, and the file is actually called hosts. But on a Mac or a Linux machine, it's going to be etc host. Okay, so that's what you're going to want to do next. You're going to want to navigate, go to the file, open it in your text editor, and it's not going to have these 2 lines in it. Okay, it's just going to be this contract up here, and basically you're going to map this name of the moviedb.app. Remember, because we set up the site here, remember we said moviedb.app, and so the whole reasoning behind this is you can go in here and go to the movie.db.app, right, virtual machine website, okay, and then using port 8000. I haven't explained that yet, but so we can be on our local machine within Chrome and we can navigate to our website. Okay, that's what we're doing. We're setting up that host file. Sorry, that was my alarm telling me that I'm almost at 15 minutes. Anyway. So you're going to want to add just this line here, 127.0.0.1 moviedb.app. So add that line, save this file, don't worry about test app, ignore that, just pretend like it's not there. And once you're done with that, then we can move on to the next video.